Welcome to the deep dive. We are jumping right into what is basically a massive standoff happening in higher ed right now.
Yeah, it's this huge tension between, trust anxiety and student capability.
Right, trust anxiety, where campuses are kind of panicking that everyone is just cheating instead of seeing how these tools actually unlock student capability.
And they're really resisting that shift. We're looking at data showing that 75% of campuses just have a completely fragmented approach to AI.
hmm
They're just reacting.
And the breakdown of where they put their energy is, well, it's wild. For those of you listening, 80% of institutional focus lands on policing and academic integrity.
Obsessing over catching people.
Exactly. But only 9% is going toward career readiness. Let that gap land for a second for you. 80% on policing and only 9% on careers.
It's a massive misallocation because, they are excluding the most important group. Only 11% of campuses even include student voices in their working groups.
So they're building AI strategy around students, not with them.
Exactly. And if you want to succeed, institutions have to shift that agency to the learners.
Okay, but let's be real. Giving control to 20-year-olds probably sounds terrifying for an administrator. But we see schools like Elon University and UTSA doing exactly that.
They are. Elon has this pledge they use: people, not technology, must come first. And UTSA leads with a really great mantra, which is curiosity over compliance.
Curiosity over compliance. I really like that.
Right. They don't lead with bans. They know that just backfires. The shared destination for both of them is human ingenuity plus AI.
So practically speaking, what does shifting that agency look like?
It's what we call the student loop. So it's co-creation, peer training, and policy. At Elon, they actually have over 60 paid student leaders.
Wow.
And not just computer science majors. We're talking art, finance, psychology majors. They co-created the Student Guide to AI, which now has over 10,000 users.
That is incredible, having art majors write the AI policy.
Yeah. And at UTSA, there's a peer learning network where students earn micro-credentials to actually coach the faculty.
Coaching the faculty. That completely flips the hierarchy.
It does. Mustafa Akben sums it up perfectly. He says integrity is a dialogue, not a top-down process.
I love that. But I have to ask about the cheating part. Both of these schools completely removed their AI detectors. Doesn't taking away the speed trap just make everyone speed?
You would think so, but the case against detectors is actually overwhelming. First, they just create an adversarial transactional relationship right off the bat.
Like teacher versus student?
Exactly. Second, the false positive rates are just unacceptably high. And third, and this is the worst part, they disproportionately flag international and non-native English-speaking students.
Oh, because of linguistic patterns.
Right, not dishonesty. The detectors flag simpler sentence structures, so UTSA and Elon scrap them. They replace detection with a new metric, which is explain your process.
Explain your process. That shifts the whole point from did you use this tool to actually measuring critical thinking.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the brain rot worry. Everyone is afraid that if the machine writes the essay, our brains turn to mush. Like that MIT study on generative AI and cognition we looked at.
Right, and that study shows it depends entirely on the workflow. Scenario A is the trap. The student asks AI to write the essay, and the result is no retention and cognitive decline.
The absolute nightmare scenario.
Yes, but scenario B is the unlock. The student drafts first, then uses AI for critique and feedback. In that workflow, brain activity actually spikes.
It spikes.
Big time.
Because they have to evaluate the feedback.
Yes, evaluating is so much harder than generating. The takeaway there is that integration has to focus on iterative feedback.
To improve the thinking, not just the final output, which really gets at the difference between AI fluency and true AI literacy.
Fluency is just having the confidence to use a tool. But literacy is understanding ethics and risk.
Like cognitive bias or environmental impact.
Exactly. A truly literate student is someone who understands the risk well enough to know when to shut the tool off.
Right, teaching you to think critically about when not to use it. And if you master that, the economic reality is huge. That Oxford research showed a 20% wage premium.
A 20% premium for AI literate workers in identical roles. Because employers don't just want AI users, they want critical thinkers who use AI to extend their capabilities.
Human plus AI premium. The technology scales, but the human mentorship and the critical thinking become the ultimate differentiator.
Exactly.
So for you listening, here's a final thought to mull over. If AI can provide all the answers, the most valuable skill you can cultivate isn't knowing the answer. It's knowing which question is worth asking in the first place.
Great point.
Catch you on the next deep dive.